Right, so welcome everybody back to another Hands-on Mondays, Marketing Cloud Mondays session. We're continuing on from an amazing session last week that Akona took us through publication lists. There were some questions, some opportunities for us to build out some of these scenarios, do some actual sends in the platform. So I thought like made sense to do that. Before we dive in there, let's talk about some upcoming sessions. Obviously, it's our every week. Well, sorry. We have our Marketing Cloud Mondays sessions. Please let us know if you have any suggestions for topics. There is a new Marketing Cloud Next, Marketing Cloud and the Next Frontier session that Gilda and the Cleveland Marketer Group is putting together. Their link, I just dropped that in the chat. The session, I think this Wednesday. I think they're every Wednesday. So look forward to those. Those are looking very cool, cool new tech on the Marketing Cloud Next. Okay, and so what we talked about, what we went through last week, there were a couple of questions that came out and so thought these were a couple that popped out and thought that we could do some validation in the platform. So the first one was, does a one-click unsubscribe or really any unsubscribe in Marketing Cloud unsubscribe you from the publication list without any additional coding? Does it unsubscribe you from all subscribers? How does that all work in action? And then the second was, does a bounce send to a publication list show up in all subscribers as a bounce? Um, and I know there might have been a couple people who are also in our session last week. These were the two questions that I had that I thought we could build out or go through the exercise of sending some emails to publication lists, setting up sort of a you know environment that we would have a typical use case for, and send those emails, unsubscribe them, see if we can get a bounce, see where it all reports in the publication lists and also in all subscribers. Anybody have any other suggestions that you can think of that came up from our session last week? If you don't have them, that's totally fine. If you're thinking through them, you can just drop them in the chat. We can add them as we're doing our build out. But anything that popped to the top as far as things you'd like to explore as we're building this out?
I would be curious from a testing standpoint, along those lines of the one-click unsubscribe, do like list header unsubscribes behave any differently? And then Gmail's new functionality where they show you kind of your subscriptions over on your sidebar, and you can, opt out or unsubscribe right from there as well. I imagine those all behave similarly, but I haven't tested any of them, so I'd be curious if we're going to go down that rabbit hole if we want to try those too.
Cool. So a list header unsubscribe, is that like a reply? Um, uh,
Yeah, so it's functionality within Gmail where, if you're reading your email, I believe it shows up above the email, and you can kind of just
mhm.
unsubscribe right through Gmail, right? It's not theoretically actually within the email template that you as the sender have coded. It's provided by the inbox provider.
Cool.
And I think
Awesome.
there's a couple other with that functionality, but I'm not sure off the top of my head which ones they are.
Perfect. We will add that to the list. Let's see. So how do with header Gmail. Perfect. Okay. Anybody else have any other thoughts? Just drop them in the chat. So we're going to jump right into the Marketing Cloud environment. And as we discovered last week, we didn't really have our unsubscribe functionality set up in an email template. So that'll be our first stop. We'll look to include the various different options for those email unsubscribe functionality. We'll add that to emails to a footer. Then we're going to create a date extension so that we can send test and hopefully include a bounceable email as well. And then we'll do some test records, including in that data extension, an active send, a bounce send, start testing that out and see where we go from there. Hopefully, we'll be able to use a Gmail email, and maybe we could send it to Matt's Gmail and see how that works as well. So I'll start building in Marketing Cloud, but if anybody has any interest in being the builder, please mention in the chat and we'll go from there. All right, so we'll go into Marketing Cloud and let's go into Content Builder. We're going to build a test email that we're going to use to add some unsubscribe functionality. So we're going to go into our Boston Marketer group and we're just going to create a new email. And again, we're going to be using our email template, that email system that we've got set up. Now we have that email design system template in a specific folder. Let me see if I can find that. In this email design system folder, under this one template, we're going to select that. So we'll call this publication list test. Go Marketing Cloud. Just had a pause there. And then we're just going to quickly create just a basic email. Again, in this email design system, we have some modules that just give us an ability to quickly create a header, footer, and a body text. So we'll do a header with one logo here at the top. We're going to include the footer down here at the bottom. And then we'll do a greeting. And then, sorry, then we'll add in just some body text as well. Oops, I didn't want a heading, just delete that. And we'll do some body text there as well. And then one other thing we'll add in here is a header script, which is basically just a code snippet block. It's going to help us set this greeting variable. Let me just clean up a bunch of this stuff that's in here. And so we're setting this greeting variable to the attribute value of greeting, which let's just change that to first name. We'll just make sure that we remember when we create the data extension to include that value so we can just do a greeting there. And then just in my body text, I'd like to edit in HTML, and I'm just going to say we are testing unsubscribe. Yeah, the publication list. And then just do the same thing here. Okay, so there's our basic email. Let's go take a look at this unsubscribe functionality. I think this is just going to, let's see, unsubscribe. This is just going to our Privacy Shield URL. So what I wanted to do, I know I was doing a little bit of research and I've used these in the past. I wanted to create a couple of different links here. One is to like the out-of-the-box profile center for Marketing Cloud. The other is going to the out-of-the-box general unsubscribe function center. And then the last one is that one-click unsubscribe. So what I want to do here is just want to duplicate a couple of these it's going to add a couple of these options here. So I'm just going to duplicate this A tag. Okay, so the first one we're going to name Profile Center. And the URL or the personalization string for that is let me just paste that in here. And let me just see if I can find that look up personalization strings. Cloud. I think this is the list of all those personalization strings. Okay. And then let's see if data about the standard links. Here they are. Here's those three URLs for those different centers. So we just grabbed the profile center here, pasted that into that. We'll call that the profile center. Let's look and add the next one, which is going to be the unsubscribe center. And I believe that is the subscription center URL. And let me just paste that in here. And then the last one, let's do the one click and subscribe. And that one is the unsub center URL. And we're just pasting in these personalization strings in the href for all three of those. And I did not put those percent in there. Let me fix that. Okay, so hopefully that should work when I send an email. We'll be able to click all three of these options just to see the different unsubscribe out of the box unsubscribe functionality that Marketing Cloud provides. It'll allow us to do some unsubscribing today. And obviously, if you wanted to use a cloud page that you would want to create, typically when you're creating your own custom profile center, you would just use the cloud page URL function. Any questions on what we just added there? And I know we just did some quick HTML and adding
Yeah, is there a reason why you have two buttons on there, unsubscribe center and one click unsubscribe? I've never seen that, so I'm wondering why you have both.
Yeah, we'll see when we click through them.
Oh, okay, never
It'll
mind.
give you, yeah, just give you different options. And I think it's good to get everyone's perspective on it. So I'll be looking to get your feedback once we click
Okay.
through and see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because when I unsubscribe, I usually it's one button that I click and then it might list different publications I can opt out of.
yes,
So I've
I
never
think
seen the two buttons, so I'm curious on that one.
yeah, I think that's the unsubscribe center. But yeah, great. Or subscription center. We'll take a look at that when we unsubscribe. Any other questions before we move on? We'll create that date extension, send some test records. Okay. So we're gonna hit done. Let's save our email. We'll come back and send lists in a second. Let me just duplicate my screen. We're gonna create a date extension that we're gonna send to.
And we do have a question in the chat from
Oh,
Dharmesh that I can read through if you want to keep clicking through, Tim. But we've got a question around Profile Center and Preference Center are the same. And they're not. I think sometimes you can have overlapping information, so you can have some information in both if you'd like to. But typically, your profile center is going to be information about the subscriber. So you may allow folks to, change their preferred name, for example. You can give the recipient, control over some of the values there. Maybe they can update their email address. You may show their loyalty status. Maybe they're a gold member or a silver member, something of that nature. So the profile is really information about that email subscriber, where your preference center is going to be more around what different communications do you want to send out as an email sender, and you can give the recipient control over which of those do they want to receive. So you may have something like newsletter, promotions. Maybe you've got different product lines. I work for a financial services organization, so in our preference center, we allow people to say, I am interested in updates about student loans, but I'm not interested in promotions about auto loans. So we give our email recipients, the ability to kind of tailor which communications they do and don't want to receive, with the goal that, they're just getting communications that they're actually interested in.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you. Okay, so quickly created a data extension. Now we've done this before. It's relatively straight. Sorry, sorry, go ahead. Okay. So just created a pretty basic send data extension, just included subscriber key. We're going to be pulling these subscribers from Salesforce, email address, first name, so we can populate that greeting, and then a create date each time that those records have been created. And then we're going to use that send relationship using the subscriber key as that key that's going to create that subscriber in all subscribers. We're just going to click create here. Alrighty, and then we want to populate some records in this data extension. So let's just create a CSV real quick. We could do this manually, but let's do it CSV wise. And it's just going to be subscriber key, email address, first name. Hold on that for a second. And then we're going to go into Salesforce, and our model is building this in a Salesforce and Marketing Cloud combined combination. So we're going to just assume these are leads, and we're going to create a new lead. I'm going to start first. So I'm going to go Tim. We're going to do pub test later. And I'm going to put in my email. Now, my Gmail typically bounces. I've noticed, I don't know why. So it'll be interesting to see. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I'm just going to fill out a couple information, some required information, and I'm just going to use the lead ID as a subscriber key. That's good. Okay. So I'm just going to grab this lead ID here. We're going to put it in this subscriber key value.
Does that duplicate matter?
Not really. I've created a bunch of dupes, but that's a good question. I'm going to say Tim bounce. All right, there's one. Matt, would you be okay if I sent an email to you to your Gmail?
Of course, yeah. And I've got the Trailblazer email as well that I can pull in the chat. I think that's a custom domain, but I do think that's Gmail accounts.
Do you want me to use your, okay, the Trailblazer GL, the CGL, yep, that's Gmail. So we'll use that. That's perfect. And source alias. Stay there. I'm just gonna copy Matt's ID. Put that in that CSV. Is this match? No. I'm gonna want to send one to my Cervelo address because that just works and I can demonstrate the unsubscribe functionality there. I'm gonna create one more test record. Um, Anybody else? Anybody else want to receive a test email? Okay, Deanna, do you
Yeah, I'll
want
do it.
to give me your email?
I'll give you a Gmail.
Sounds good.
Uh,
Got a couple of emails. All right, great. And it's Deanna. Is that how I spell your first name? Deanna?
oh, I'm sorry, me.
Yeah.
Donella.
Donella. And your last name?
Put Villarreal, Villarreal.
Okay. And email send. And right. And then I've got one more off that.
We've got a good question in the chat about why are we using Salesforce Lead ID as our subscriber key for Marketing Cloud records? And I think there are a lot of different reasons that you'll make your choice as to what the right subscriber key is for you and your organization. But in this case, and I think in a lot of cases, Tim's using both Marketing Cloud and Salesforce CRM. So because we know that our lead ID is going to map to an individual within our CRM environment, and because we know our integration is capable of passing those over to the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, it's a really good candidate for subscriber key. We know it's going to be one-to-one to match a record back in CRM, and we know it's going to be unique. I think like Danella said earlier, are we worried about duplicates? And it is a concern where you may have people who register more than once, and it may be the same individual, but we know that theoretically they should have different email addresses. And if they don't, right, the system's going to kind of flag it, just like Tim got that warning sign earlier saying, hey, this looks like a duplicate. Are you sure you want to create this record? So there's advantages there on the CRM side where it's going to help you avoid duplicates. And then on the Marketing Cloud side, we know we've got a good, unique identifier. Whereas if we use email address, that may change over time. It may be shared. A lot of times in financial services, you've got households where partners and children are all sharing an email address for financial reasons. In which case you've got that kind of one-to-many relationship where you're sending, emails potentially to different people, but they're all going in the same inbox. So using that lead ID or the contact ID, if they've converted, is really, I would say, probably a best practice in Marketing Cloud if you have CRM and that Marketing Cloud connector.
When
Thank
that
you, Matt.
Duke comes up, do you have an opportunity to look at it and see if it is one or not, or delete it?
Yeah, so on the CRM side, there are some tools where you can view potential duplicates, and I believe there's also functionality where you can like clean up duplicates, right? You can review your duplicates and kind of determine which of those two records do you want to keep or do you want to merge them. On the Marketing Cloud side, there is no, to my knowledge, like out of the box functionality to say show me my potential duplicates. But if you do look someone up in the all subscribers list, what you can do is you can actually look them up by email address. And when you do that, it will return every subscriber associated with that email address. So I think like in some past exercises, we've looked at Tim's Gmail address. And as you can see, he uses it for testing fairly frequently. So we can return a couple dozen records, that may be related to that. And it's actually a really interesting exercise because you can see the various statuses of those subscribers. Some of them might be active, some of them might be bounced, some of them might be suppressed because they've bounced multiple times. So it's really interesting to see that even though we know that that email address may not be good, it might be bouncing. If you're sending to a new lead ID, if you create a duplicate, that email will continue to go. So it does have some interesting implications around deliverability and kind of monitoring for that for sure.
Right. So now we've got those data extensions created. And now we're just going to create a publication list test. So let's call this monthly newsletter. And we're going to make this public. And then I just want to add one more publication list. Let's call this weekly deals. So we've got, let's,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim. I don't want to interrupt you if you
no,
have
go
any.
ahead.
So, Gautam, that's a good question around how can we use some specific subscriber key values like Gmail 01, Gmail 02? And I would say that you probably want to avoid something like that. You really want some sort of unique identifier to the subscriber. So if you're not going to use like a CRM value, if you don't have that available to you, email address is a possibility, even to, that there are some concerns with that. Another idea would be maybe you've got a unique identifier. If you're using whatever system you're using to manage your kind of customers and their relationships, that unique identifier from that external system is probably another better candidate for a subscriber key, than trying to build something that's just going to iterate on a common value. You really want to try to find something as unique as possible to that individual subscriber, because you are trying to manage your sending relationship with those individual subscribers.
Thank you, Matt. Let's see. All right, so we've got our email. I created two different publication lists. Our use case is going to be, let's say we want to, we're sending out monthly emails, monthly newsletters, and we've got these weekly deals. So we're going to send out, we're going to pretend that we're going to be sending out our email when this is going to be sent out to those monthly subscribers. Say this is our first send, and looking to see if someone unsubscribes from the monthly newsletter. Does that unsubscribe them from all subscribers? Can they also opt in, opt out of those weekly deals as well? So we're going to go back into Marketing Cloud and we're just testing, doing a preview test just to see if that greeting populates as expected. And yep, there it goes. That's working as expected. So yeah, so we're just going to send out this email. It's going to hit save. We're just going to do a basic send. And I'm going to select, it's going to be commercial. I'm going to select a sender profile. It's pretty basic. Going to click next. Going to select that date extension. And that was publication test send. We're going to use that publication list. Let's say we're going to use that monthly newsletter, not all subscribers, right? That monthly newsletter. Monthly newsletter. Click next. I'm going to send this out right away. And then this just gives us a summary. That's the date extension, publication list send, 5 who are being sent. This is the email we just proofed. All looks good. We're going to click this and click send. Cool. There we go. Any questions so far? Thank you, Matt, for handling all the questions as we've been building related to publication lists, email building, data extension. No, we just did some data extension importing. Again, that was just a CSV file. You just need to map your data extension rows to the column rows in your data extension. When you also created that, when I was creating that data extension, created a blank created date field that I checked that box is going to pull in that current date. That just timestamps when that data has been created. All right, let's go into those publications lists and see if we've got any activity here. Okay, great. So, oh, we've got 2 bounces. Fantastic. Cool. And so these are new subscribers. So, first of all, we just sent this list to everybody on that list, so we can see them all populating here in that subscriber file. We've got, that's funny, my Gmail usually bounces, but Matt's yours bounce, which is excellent. We can take a look at how that looked. And then we'll go into Marketing Cloud to take a look when we unsubscribe, if it unsubscribes me from this list and not Marketing Cloud. So let's start on the bounce side since we've got a couple of bounces here. Let's go into Marketing Cloud. We're going to go into all subscribers just to see what our all subscribers tells us based on what we're seeing here on this publication list. So I'm going to, let's take Matt's subscriber and see if it's also bounced in all subscribers. We're gonna, again, all subscribers is in Email Studio. Under all subscribers, we're gonna search. We're gonna
Yeah, it's
search
not
by,
even in my spam.
okay, interesting. And we're gonna search based on that subscriber key and see if we also see this as bounced. Yes, so there it is. It's bounced also in all subscribers as well. Just to verify, let's take an active status. And these are new subscribers, so they should have been added to all subscribers. And search for this one that's active. You obviously should see this as a green shirt. Okay, there we go. Awesome. All right, and then let me pull up my emails to see if I received that email. Let me pull up the email itself. Okay, here's that email. And then we're going to click on all 3 of these links. There's that first one. Let me just close these. I was testing this before. Let's click on the unsubscribe center. And then let's click on the one-click unsubscribe. Okay, so the one-click unsubscribe, we'll go there first just because now this should have unsubscribed me from this publication. And then it gives me the ability to unsubscribe from all. So let's just quickly check this subscriber and see what happened. So I think I'm gonna just see if this refresh works. And then let's just go to those publication lists. Let's go to that monthly newsletter. And there's that was sent to my email address, my Cervello. So it's now unsubscribed from that publication list. let's go check all subscribers for this subscriber key. See if anything changed in all subscribers. Right, still green. So there you go. There's that validates that functionality. Those two questions that we had initially, which was, does all subscribers get changed when you unsubscribe from that publication list? It does not. And then we also had a question about, does the bouncing show up in all subscribers as bounced, which it does, which is very helpful. Any questions on what we just demoed so far before we start going a little bit further into the publication, into the different profiles and unsubscribe centers?
Curious as to why it bounced. I'm looking and it didn't show up in spam. It didn't show up in managed subscriptions.
Yeah.
It just didn't show.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know
Theoretically,
why.
it wouldn't because it has been bounced, right? It's been rejected by your service provider for whatever reason. And I know I'm actually curious myself. I'm trying to pull up my own reason. I know that the tracking information hasn't synced yet. It should. Um, and I think the other interesting piece about it, like it might be a soft bounce versus a hard bounce. So a hard bounce is something that's a permanent condition. Maybe your email address was inaccurate, right? We had a typo in it. It just doesn't exist. Email provider didn't know what to do with it, so they've rejected it and let us know. Maybe it's a soft bounce, something like your inbox was full. Theoretically, you could go clear them out, and your inbox might be good to receive it tomorrow. In which case, Marketing Cloud will actually retry it over the next 72 hours, until that's fully resolved. So it's
Okay. So it
yeah.
does keep trying because I'm like, no, if I gave somebody my email and I never got it, I would be like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, it depends on the reason. So a soft bounce, something that's not necessarily permanent, might be resolved. Marketing Cloud will continue to try. I think it's like 3 sends over 72 hours before it'll stop.
Huh.
Whereas something permanent, like an unknown address or no longer at this domain or something like that, that'll not continue to retry. It'll just say that was a one and done.
Interesting, because I definitely do not have I keep my inbox very clean and that's interesting.
Yeah. And it could be
Okay.
something like blocked, right? It may not be anything that's your fault. It may be that the provider has, flagged something about this content or this sender, and has just blocked it. And Marketing Cloud we should get a reason back. It's just a matter of how do we get to it and when will it get
Takes a
there?
few days? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
It shouldn't be
definitely
days.
interested
It
about
should
that
be,
one.
yeah, minutes to hours in my experience. Like I don't know if we
But
could
you
pull back
touch
this.
Otter one time and you get slammed with emails all week long.
All right, yeah, and usually my Gmail bounces, and I didn't actually receive it yet in my Gmail, so kind of wondering what's going on there on the Gmail front. Okay, so let's circle back to a couple of these different options, and Matt, you probably can shed little bit of light on these as well. So the one-click unsubscribe, we just demoed that functionality. I believe you click this button, it's just going to unsubscribe you from all subscribers as well. Um, here's that subscription center, which is kind of handy. That shows all the different lists that you've unsubscribed from. Um, I believe when I first clicked on it, I don't believe this was checked because when I clicked on the unsubscribe center, so it looks like this might have just naturally refreshed and checked that. Another thing to point out is that in our scenario, we would want just two publication lists to show here, the monthly newsletter and the weekly deals. So I thought we could, validate on how to remove all those others. I think it's just unchecking the public checkbox on each of those publication lists because it's got all of your publication lists showing here. So if you are using that out of the box subscription center, just be mindful of that whenever you're creating publication lists. I think if you make it public, they show up here for others to for you to update. Um, and then this profile center, I think, Matt, this is what you were talking about, where you can provide additional information about yourself. I'm not exactly sure where this gets stored. Um, in Marketing Cloud, does this get stored in a data extension?
Way to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure offhand if you can access it via data extensions. I do think it's stored on the at the subscriber level. So like if we were to go to all subscribers and pull up a record, you can click that view profile details.
Okay, cool.
And my gut would tell me that it's there. But to be honest with you, I've never actually used this functionality with any sort of regularity. Oh, and
Hmm.
it's view properties, not profile details. Interesting.
But yeah, I think you're right, right? This is that same, right. Good, good, yeah, I think let's try that. Um, oops, sorry. So it's 10 writer. Send from email. That's kind of cool. The custom send from email that you can leverage that data point. So let's just say it's 10 clear.
Gotham's got a question in the chat around what is the maximum count we can expect in lists? And I think this goes back to kind of the difference between sending lists versus publication lists. So I don't think there's any limitations on how many records you can store in a publication list. Whereas a sending list, it's really, I got to go back to that email studio, I think examination, I don't know how many years ago, because I know that the advantage of data extensions is that you can have more records, millions of records. Whereas with sending lists, there are limitations there. But I'm not sure what they are. That's a great question. I don't think I haven't used lists in years, and I forget what they that is. I don't know if you remember, Tim, what those kind of guidelines are.
No, I don't think I've actually ever used lists. I'm just testing this just to see if that populated those data points, which I'm sure you're able to pull in yeah, there it is. I'm sure you'll be able to pull in maybe this is personalization strings once this is populated. Um, or something. There's some data points here. It's kind of cool that that's yeah, these are those different, I think, out of the box preference attributes. So anyways, that's cool. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, you can do this unsubscribe from a lot of these pages have different features and functionality that you can offer. Again, most of us are probably creating our own custom preference centers as landing pages. But any questions on the best for 500? Okay, cool. That's awesome. Any questions on publication lists now that we're created them, send some records to them, how they get displayed on on that default subscription center, how they work with bounces, unsubscribing from all. Um, SQL to get contacts in lists automatically. Can you import from an automation into a list?
Yeah,
So I
hi
think
Tim.
sorry, go ahead, Gotham.
Yeah, actually, I have to send for birthday emails weekly or a daily basis. So how we can get the data to list or any newsletters like that?
So I think we can use SQL to add subscribers to a list if we want to. I believe you can import them as well through a CSV, as Tim mentioned. But I think it's important to differentiate here whether we're talking about a list for sending purposes or a publication list that we're focused on today. So the publication list isn't your actual sending target. It's almost like a filter that we're applying on top of it. So if we're sending to our 5 records that we just sent to again, I think when we looked, 2 of us were bounced, for example. So when we apply that publication list, the next time we should theoretically only send to 3 subscribers because we know 2 of them are going to be bounced. And I may be splitting hairs here, but it may continue to try until those subscribers are no longer actually active. But that publication list is basically an additional opt-out functionality where subscribers can say, I don't want to receive this particular type of communication. So if I'm no longer interested in receiving, let's say, promotional emails, I can opt out of just those emails while still getting educational emails and newsletter emails and things of that nature. And really what'll happen is that contacts are going to be automatically added to that publication list at send time when you apply it to the send. So when Tim went through the send flow and said, I'm going to send to this data extension and I want to apply this publication list, all of those subscribers at that send are going to be added to that publication list at that time if they're not already. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. If we are talking about like sending lists, like we want to send to a target list, I believe you can use SQL, you can use an automation, you can import. Again, it's not something I'm super familiar with, so hopefully I'm not giving out bad information here. But
Yeah, I was just looking, I think is in the general import functionality, which you would use in an automation, you can select a data extension. You can also select a file from the FTP. But if you select a data extension, you have to write to a data extension.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure on list. I mean, I think our recommendation would be to see if you can pivot to data extensions if possible. I don't know if that's a constraint on your end, Gotham. Cool. Any other questions related to publication lists?
Yes, Tim. So as we have unsubscribed from one click, so I just wanted to check that is it updated in Subscribe Center also?
Is it
Because
update?
uh, because
Sorry.
what it is. Can you share that window in which you are showing the Profile Center, Subscriber Center, and all the 3 links? Yes. So you unsubscribe from the unsubscribe center. So here you can see that to unsubscribe, below that available publications, the text is mentioned to unsubscribe from any publication, just uncheck the box. But here the monthly newsletter is checked. So what I'm thinking, if we are unsubscribing from the unsubscribe center, ideally it should also get updated. So it should be unchecked.
So
Try to
you're saying if
explain.
we uncheck this, will it unsubscribe me in the publication list?
So ideally it means what I'm thinking that it will not automatically get updated. We need to do it manually, correct?
Okay, let's test it. So yeah, I'm in. Let's switch it. See, I'm gonna unsubscribe from monthly newsletter or resubscribe to monthly newsletter, and I want to unsubscribe for the new weekly deals
You
publication.
will unsubscribe from monthly newsletter. So it will automatically get unchecked here also.
Yes, let's see what happens when I try that. Didn't really give me a message. Let's go back into all subscribers. Let's go into the publication lists. And let's go take a look at that monthly newsletter. Still unsubscribed. And then let's go to the weekly deals. And I'm now added in there as active. So I was added in there, but I was added as active, which is interesting. So maybe this doesn't work. To subscribe to a new book, just check the profile. Oh, okay. To subscribe. Okay. To unsubscribe, just uncheck the box. Click to subscribe. Okay. So Okay, that was unsubscribed. And then, so your question is if we, let's see, monthly newsletter, I got unsubscribed, but oh, okay, sorry, yeah, like I get what you're saying. This functionality is subscribed. So if I now click monthly newsletter and update, will it resubscribe me both of those publication lists? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you were correct. I misread that. The because I was sent the email and it populated me in the monthly newsletter publication list when I first landed here. It was checked because I had subscribed. To unsubscribe, which is actually interesting. If you uncheck this, you're unsubscribed. But if for all these other lists, I'm not unsubscribed from those lists. Another reason why you probably want to have them those pretty cleaned up. So thank you. Great suggestion.
So am I to understand that when you make this you made this publication list and made it public, you're now, as a person receiving the email, going to get the option to unsubscribe to all these publications? It's all gonna come up, or is there a way to filter that? Well, there is a way. I think that Marketing Cloud Next is going to answer that question I just answered. But now a person has the option to click another one and maybe you subscribe to something they didn't know about.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on what you want to put on your preference center for those options. So, yeah, you might get an email for monthly newsletters and like, oh, I didn't know they had weekly deals, or I didn't know they had, yeah. So ideally, you probably want people to opt in before you send it to them. But sometimes we,
But if you're clicking it, isn't that an opt-in?
yeah, I think that seems like definitely, and that's an opt-in. So at least in the US, that seems pretty good. I don't know from GDPR standpoint or CCPA standpoint if that's a technical opt-in, if you actually need to receive an email that says just to confirm you just opted into weekly newsletters, but
So could you build that in where it was a double opt-in? Like if I wasn't subscribed to weekly deals, but hey, I didn't know you had it. Now I want to subscribe. Would that take you to, because you weren't subscribed, could you build this to where it was a double opt-in?
right, you would have to just query the data view for the list subscribes or list unsubscribes, and that put together then you could use that query to fuel a journey or an automation that would send that double opt-in for sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. I gotta hop to a meeting, but great session, everybody. Hopefully that was helpful. Matt, thank you for all your answers in the chat as well. Super awesome. And we'll talk next week.
Awesome. Great session. Thanks
Thanks,
so much.
everybody. Bye.
Have a great week.
You too.